Hey, you like nuclear radiation, right? What am I talking about? Everyone does. Anyway, today I'm talking about uranium. So this fun little element was discovered way back in 1789 in a mine in what is now Czechia by a German chemist by the name of Martin Heinrich Klaproth, who kinda just looks like he would be named that, doesn't he? Anyway, for a while there weren't too many uses for it, until around the 1830s when they started using it as a pigment to make yellow and green colored glass. Glass that was made this way would often fluoresce and shine pretty brightly under ultraviolet light. Of course, at the time, this just meant it would glitter in an interesting way if you held it in the sun. And this type of glass got pretty popular, often being called canary glass or Vaseline glass. And pretty much it was still just thought of as a normal colorant for consumer products. You know, just a little bit of uranium for your day-to-day glassware. The compound specifically that was used in this glass was uranium dioxide. And by weight, the glass products were usually around 2% uranium, although it has been observed to be anywhere from 0.1% to 25%. Now, having radioactive materials like this in consumer products that people used every day sounds really dangerous. And for the most part, yeah, it was. But at the time, the mere existence of radioactivity just wasn't known about yet. That changed in 1896, however, when another German, this time a physicist by the name of Wilhelm Röntgen, published a paper about the X-rays he had observed and used to scan a human hand, shown here. And in the following years, a ton of research was done regarding radiation, very notably the work of physicist Marie Curie, but also many others. And I mentioned before that a lot of these products with radioactive materials in them were made before radiation was really known about. Well, even after the discovery of radiation, it still took a while for people to know that it did have the potential to be really dangerous. So people just carried on making the uranium glass well into the 20th century. And another pretty significant example of this is Fiestaware. The Homer Laughlin Company was founded in East Liverpool,
Ohio,
in 1871, but were able to escape to West Virginia later on. They made some pretty normal ceramics at first, but decided to shake it up a little in 1936, with some ceramics that I'm showing on screen for the third time right now, which also contained some uranium dioxide. There were other colors as well, but the red was the most expensive because, well, it was the one that had uranium in it, but interestingly enough, it was also the most popular. One study estimated that an average Fiesta red plate had around 4.5 grams of uranium in it, and the glaze was around 1/5 of a millimeter thick, which again, that's kind of a lot for people to be having near them all the time. So they had to halt production for a little bit because of this little thing called World War II, in which the Manhattan Project created a number of pretty deadly bombs, commonly using uranium. The United States dropped the first one of these uranium bombs in 1945, resulting in well over 100,000 casualties. But that's a little beyond the scope of this video. Having been discontinued in World War II due to the Manhattan Project, Fiestaware was brought back in 1959 using depleted uranium, which is significantly less radioactive and therefore less fun. But then in 1973 it was discontinued permanently. Now here we sit in the year of our Lord 2022. And the most common use of uranium now is the production of electricity in nuclear power plants, which is, I guess, a lot more productive than in the past. Now sit down if you're not already for some reason. Let me tell you a short story. A few years back I was sitting at the Thanksgiving table with my family, and I thought about this little jug that we had used for drinks and stuff on special occasions, for pretty much as long as I could remember. And I noticed that it was a pretty familiar shade of red. I hadn't thought about it much before, but I had only recently gotten into stuff like chemistry. So I asked my parents if, by any chance, it was pretty old. And apparently it was owned by my grandparents since around World War II. Sound familiar at all? And honestly, I was pretty excited. After a while, I managed to get my hands on a Geiger counter, to see of course if it was radioactive like I had thought. As you can see here, this is the approximate background radiation, nowhere near the jug or anything. Measured in the unit of microsieverts per hour of radiation, it usually came out to around 0.15, sometimes a little less. But anyway, I was right about the thing, it is pretty radioactive. So here's a little bit of the Geiger counter freaking out when I just set it inside and left it there for a bit. Well, I thought that was pretty interesting. I certainly hope you did too. But that's about it for now.